Trump's spiritual advisor visits Bucha and Irpin. What shocks him? Trump says he set Putin a psychological deadline for ceasefire, and why US President warns Zelensky of big problems. The latest news next. Today marks 3 years since the occupation of Bucha. This day serves as a reminder of the horrific crimes committed by the Russian army during the occupation of the town. In March 2022, as Russian forces withdrew from the area, mass graves, bodies of civilians, and signs of brutal violence were discovered. The atrocities committed included the killing of civilians, torture, rape, and the destruction of property. Many innocent people were executed in cold blood, while others were subjected to unimaginable horrors. The Russian soldiers indiscriminately targeted men, women, and children, leaving behind a devastated community. The images from Bucha, including the bodies of civilians lying on the streets and in mass graves, shocked the world and became a symbol of the atrocities being committed in Ukraine. These events, now widely documented, serve as a painful reminder of the devastating impact of the ongoing war. The international community continues to call for accountability for these war crimes. We remember and honor the victims of Bucha, and we are deeply grateful to all the defenders who stood strong in the face of such horror. Their courage and dedication in protecting the Ukrainian people and fighting for freedom cannot be overstated. Pastor Mark Burns, the personal spiritual advisor to US President Donald Trump, has arrived in Ukraine on a visit, reported by Chief Rabbi of Ukraine Moshe Asman, as reported by European Pravda. About details, Asman said that Burns had come to Ukraine at his invitation. Asman described Burns as a well-known figure in religious and political circles of the United States, whose voice today carries weight in shaping America's new strategy and policy. During his visit, Burns visited Bucha, Irpin, and Borodyanka to see the consequences of the Russian crimes against Ukrainian civilians and to hear the memories of witnesses.
What he saw deeply affected him. He did not hide his pain, indignation, and sincere compassion. I am sure that he will not keep these emotions and testimonies to himself. Pastor Burns is a man who has the ability to be heard in places where big decisions are made. And I believe that the voice of truth from Ukraine will be brought to the very heart of the new American leadership.
While speaking to journalists, US President Donald Trump has stated that Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky wants to withdraw from the mineral deal and has warned him of big problems if he does so, reported by Reuters.
Zelensky, by the way, I see he's trying to back out of the rare earth deal. And if he does that, he's got some problems, big problems. We made a deal on rare earth, and now he's saying, well, you know, I want to renegotiate the...
In addition, Trump reiterated that Ukraine would never become a NATO member, despite Zelensky's aspiration to join the alliance. He said he wants to be a member of NATO, but he is never going to be a member of NATO. He understands that. But is Zelensky really refusing the deal? On Friday, March 28, Vladimir Zelensky stated that Ukraine had only officially received the US draft agreement on subsoil resources on that day. However, it contained provisions that the parties had previously rejected. This is a completely different document. There is a lot in it that wasn't discussed, and some things have appeared that the parties had already discarded, the president said at the briefing. He emphasized that he wanted to receive a specific legal review. Lawyers will need to examine the document and compare all versions of the agreement. Zelensky publicly stated that some of the proposals in the agreement would be discarded, and once there are no legislative threats, he will assess it. For now, according to the president, he doesn't want to react to every message. It is also important to mention that in February 2025, Zelensky and Trump were supposed to sign a framework agreement on rare earth resources. However, due to a dispute at the White House between the two leaders, the document was never signed. As previously known, the parties had initially intended to sign a framework agreement, but now the US has proposed signing a full agreement on subsoil resources. The agreement stipulated that the US would gain full control over the energy and mining sectors. No one is refusing the deal. We simply want a fair agreement. Our goal is to ensure that any agreement respects Ukrainian sovereignty and interest, while also ensuring that the terms are mutually beneficial and just for all parties involved. We are committed to finding a solution that works for Ukraine while ensuring our national resources and energy sector remain under our control. US President Donald Trump believes that Russian leader, dictator Vladimir Putin wants to conclude a ceasefire agreement in Ukraine, but added that he has set a psychological deadline for Russia to agree to it. Quote from Trump on whether there is a deadline for Russia to agree to a ceasefire. It is a psychological deadline. If I think they are tapping us along, I will not be happy about it. About details, when asked if he thinks Russia is dragging its feet on this matter, Trump said he doesn't know. I think Putin wants to make a deal, he said. Putin doesn't want peace. While Trump has stated that he believes Putin wants to make a deal, the actions of Russia on the ground tell a different story. Russia continues to bombard and destroy Ukraine, showing no genuine interest in peace or diplomatic resolution. The ongoing missile strikes, artillery bombardments, and attacks on civilian infrastructure clearly demonstrate that Putin's priority is not negotiating a peaceful settlement, but rather continuing his aggressive military campaign to destabilize and dismantle Ukraine. Ukraine is being relentlessly targeted, with cities reduced to rubble, thousands of innocent civilians killed or injured, and millions displaced. Despite calls for ceasefire and peace talks, Putin's forces have shown no willingness to halt their violence. Instead, they keep advancing, causing immense suffering and destruction. Putin's actions suggest that peace is not his true goal. His rhetoric may imply a desire for a deal, but the reality of his behavior on the battlefield tells us that he is more interested in pursuing territorial conquest and weakening Ukraine. As long as Putin continues to destroy Ukraine, his true intentions remain clear. He does not seek peace, but rather the submission of Ukraine and the expansion of Russian influence through force. The foreign ministers of France, Germany, Italy, Spain, Poland and the United Kingdom, together with the European High Representative for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy, Kaja Kallas, and European Commissioner for Defense, Andrius Kubilius, will gather in Madrid for the first meeting of the Ukraine Support Group in the Weimar Plus format on Monday, the 31st of March. The discussions will center on providing further military assistance and security assurances to Ukraine, as well as Europe's future participation in the peace process, reported by a senior official from one of the European member states speaking to European Pravda on condition of anonymity. About details, the source said that the European aims to intensify efforts to help Ukraine achieve peace through strength, which includes plans to scale up military assistance.
The meeting will be divided into two sections. The first will focus on boosting European security, the EU's Readiness 2030 Defense Initiative, and Kubilius's White Paper. The second stage will concentrate on increasing military support for Ukraine, with an emphasis on attaining peace through strength.
The official clarified that both sessions will include discussions on establishing lasting peace in Ukraine and enhancing Europe's defense capabilities.
There will also be talks on security guarantees for Ukraine from Western states, the potential contribution of the Weimar Plus countries to a ceasefire process in Ukraine, and Europe's role in the diplomatic efforts to establish peace.